Hi, I'm Leslie Meredith with Breakbulk Events and Media, and I'm here today in Johannesburg at the Emperor's Palace for the second day of Breakbulk Africa, and I have with me the entire panel that just wrapped up and discussed the shipping industry, challenges, opportunities, and other related issues. It was a fascinating panel, and we are going to give you the highlights right now. So we'll start with some of the biggest challenges facing the African shipping industry.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm James Lewer of SAFWAF MPV. I think when you look at the vastness of the African coastline, immediately a problem surfaces there, and a number of ports. There's over 50 ports throughout the subcontinent. In order to be able to serve that amount of ports competitively, with the delays attached to these ports, it is necessary to deploy more than one string. A Hagemann kind of service would just take forever and just would not be competitive at all. Coupled with that are the costs attached to that. And I think the challenge that we as a shipping line faced is how do we reduce these costs with the productivities and challenges that we faced.
Right, that's important.
Hi, I'm Napo Ramodibedi, CEO of the Mendi group of companies, which specializes in maritime services as well as rail infrastructure. And from our perspective, some of the challenges really around shipping in Africa have to deal firstly with lack of connectivity. To ship cargo from one African port to the other becomes quite a challenge, particularly because there's a lack of feeder services in operating in between the ports. But also when one considers that cargo coming onto the continent in the first place only calls into the main ports, then you really start to realize the sort of magnitude of the problem. And the second point is that the cost as it stands at the moment is fairly high compared to ports out of the developed nations. So you're dealing in one instance with a lack of options in terms of getting your cargo from one port to the next, but secondly, you're dealing with much higher costs for a service that's likely to take longer.
Okay. My name is Oritsematosan, Edodo-Emore. I practice law in Lagos with Edodo, Thorpe and Associates, legal practitioners. Now, one of the greatest challenges facing shipping in Africa is the lack of fluidity in the transportation of the cargo from the port to the hinterlands. So that landlocked countries that have breakbulk cargo, for example, have difficulties in receiving their cargo from the ports in the south. And that is because the road and rail network for African ports are not properly developed. Because of that, it takes a very long time for the shippers in landlocked countries to be able to receive their cargo. And of course, it will take regional effort to be able to develop the road and rail network in African ports. If this is done, then a lot of the challenges would be answered.
I'm Gerald Hagmann of Angola Southline. And yes, besides what the problems that my colleagues have mentioned about the problems facing ports in Africa, one of the other big challenges is in fact the governance and the regulations, the amount of regulations hindering the free flow of cargo. And like, for instance, customs clearance, port authority permissions, and that would have to be tackled, maybe even through private-public discussions. And that would be one of the problems that we are facing.
Okay, great. Now we've heard about some of the most challenging issues facing our shipping community. So stay tuned for some solutions, right? Okay.